This story is titled, Just an Hour Before My Sister-in-Law's Wedding, I went into labor and my mother-in-law took my phone and locked me in the bathroom, saying to hold off for a while so that I don't steal sister-in-law's spotlight and ruin her special day. A few hours later, I woke up in the hospital and my mother-in-law was begging me not to press charges. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hi Reddit, I never thought I'd find myself posting here, but I'm seriously losing my mind over what went down 2 weeks ago. It's been eating away at me, and I need to put it out there to see if I'm overreacting or if this whole situation is as insane as it feels. So get ready, because this one's a doozy. A little background to set the stage. My husband, Tom, 31 male, and I, 28 female, recently welcomed our first baby, Lily. She's perfect, by the way, but her arrival was far from what I imagined. Instead of the magical, tear-filled moment I had dreamed about, it turned into a total nightmare. And the people responsible? My mother-in-law, Margaret, and my sister-in-law, Vanessa. You know, the kind of people who make you question whether karma actually exists. Vanessa got married 2 weeks ago. She's 27, super self-absorbed, and married Greg, one of Tom's best friends. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, which was fine when I agreed like a year ago. But by the time the wedding rolled around, I was 9 months pregnant. Like full-on waddling, can't see my feet, could go into labor any second kind of pregnant. I politely backed out as a bridesmaid months in advance, figuring that was the right thing to do. Vanessa? Oh, she was not happy. She didn't outright say it, but she made sure I felt the passive-aggressive vibes loud and clear. Comments like, I just wish everyone cared as much about my big day as I do, or, pregnancy isn't an excuse to let people down. I tried to let it roll off my back. Margaret was no better, constantly telling me I should try harder to make an effort, because you only get married once. Apparently, being in labor doesn't count as a good reason to sit out. Despite all that, I decided to go to the wedding. Tom really wanted us to show up, and part of me thought, maybe I'm overthinking this. Let's just be there for Vanessa and get through it. Big mistake. Huge. The ceremony was in this picturesque outdoor venue. Gorgeous, right? Except it was also like 90 degrees, and I was sweating like a marathon runner. I had to keep stopping to catch my breath because, well, 9 months pregnant and walking don't mix. By the time we got there, I was already regretting my decision. But I put on my polite smile and tried to keep it together. Then came the moment everything went sideways. Just before the ceremony started, I felt this sharp pain, like sharp enough to make me freeze. I leaned over to Tom and whispered, "Something's happening." He looked at me like I'd just told him aliens landed. I excused myself to the nearest bathroom, hoping I was just dehydrated or something. Nope. My water broke right there. I was officially in labor. At that point, I was panicking. I mean, what do you even do in that situation? I texted Tom to come meet me upstairs, but guess who found me first? Margaret. I explained what happened and begged her to get Tom. "Please, Margaret, I'm in labor. Get Tom now." I gasped, clutching the sink for support. She stood there, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was some kind of nuisance. "You're not going anywhere," she said coldly. "You're not ruining this wedding for Vanessa. Do you hear me? Ruining it. I'm having a baby." I shot back, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped toward the door. "Stay here until it's over. You'll be fine," she added before locking the door behind her and walking away. I thought she was joking. Like, what kind of person says that when someone is in labor? But she was dead serious. She kept going on about how I should have stayed home if I couldn't handle it, and how Vanessa had been stressed enough without me making a scene. I couldn't even respond. I was in so much pain, and this woman was acting like I had just confessed to burning the wedding cake. Then the unthinkable happened. Margaret locked me in the bathroom. I didn't even realize what was happening until I heard the door click. She said something like, "Stay here until it's over. You'll be fine." And then she walked away. With my phone, I lost it. I started pounding on the door, screaming for help, but the music had already started and everyone was downstairs. I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. The contractions were getting worse, and I was stuck in a freaking bathroom with no way out. I remember thinking, is this really how I'm going to have my baby? Locked in a bathroom at my sister-in-law's wedding because my mother-in-law is a psychopath? The whole thing is still a blur. At some point, I must have passed out from the pain, because the next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed. Tom was next to me, holding our daughter, and I just burst into tears. I was relieved to see them both, but I was also furious. How did it get to this point? Who even does that to another human being, let alone a family member? After the initial shock wore off, the panic set in. I mean, I knew I was in labor, but I didn't know how far along I was. The contractions were coming fast, and I couldn't exactly time them without my phone. I kept banging on the door, yelling as loud as I could, but no one came. I could hear faint music from downstairs, some classical thing that probably sounded beautiful to everyone else, but felt like a death knell to me. At some point, I just sat on the cold tile floor, crying and praying someone would notice I was missing. I tried to stay calm, but it's hard to keep your head straight when you're scared out of your mind and in that much pain. I remember gripping the edge of the sink, trying to breathe through the contractions. It felt like the universe was playing some cruel joke on me. Eventually, I started yelling again, just desperate for anyone to hear me. I screamed for Tom, but nothing. It felt like hours, though I know now it was probably less than that. Meanwhile, downstairs, Tom told me later, things were kicking off as if nothing had happened. Vanessa was doing her whole slow walk down the aisle thing, and Margaret had apparently slipped right back into her role as the doting mother of the bride. No one noticed I was gone until the ceremony was over, and Tom realized I hadn't come back to my seat. He texted me a couple of times and got no response. That's when he started asking around, trying to figure out where I went. Margaret? She told him I needed some time to myself and brushed him off. Tom said he didn't buy it. He knows I wouldn't just vanish like that. So, while everyone else was mingling and taking pictures, he started looking for me. He checked the parking lot, the bathrooms downstairs, even the car. Nothing. Finally, he decided to check the upstairs bathrooms. He said the second he got close, he heard me yelling. He tried the door and found it locked, and that's when he knew something was seriously wrong. Tom started banging on the door, yelling my name. I don't even remember what I said, but it must have been enough to scare him, because he didn't waste any time breaking the door down. When he got in, I was on the floor, clutching my belly and sobbing. He told me later it was the scariest thing he'd ever seen. He scooped me up and carried me out of there like some action hero, not even stopping to explain to anyone what was going on. He drove like a maniac to the hospital, calling ahead to make sure they were ready for us. I barely remember the drive. It was all a blur of pain and fear. The next thing I remember clearly is waking up in the hospital, holding Lily. She was tiny and perfect, and I just kept crying, overwhelmed that she was okay despite everything. Tom was sitting next to me, looking like he'd been through a war. That's when he told me what happened after we left. Back at the wedding, Margaret and Vanessa were already spinning their version of events. According to Margaret, I'd overreacted and made everything about myself. She told people I had decided to leave because I couldn't handle the heat or the stress or whatever nonsense she came up with on the spot. Vanessa, of course, jumped on the bandwagon, saying I was selfish for walking out on her big day. No one seemed to question it at first. But Tom? He wasn't having any of it. Once he knew Lily and I were safe, he went back to the venue to confront them. He demanded to know what really happened, and that's when Margaret cracked. She admitted to locking me in the bathroom, but tried to justify it by saying she just couldn't handle the stress and decided to leave. I was trying to help. Tom wasn't buying it. Help? He snapped. You locked her in a bathroom while she was in labor. You endangered her life and Lily's... What the hell is wrong with you? Margaret tried to play the victim. I didn't know what else to do, Tom. It was protecting Vanessa's day. Protecting Vanessa? Tom shouted. You're supposed to protect your family, not treat them like garbage. You're dead to me, Margaret. You'll never see Lily or us again. Ever. Margaret added, still admitting her fault bluntly without feeling guilty. I was trying to protect Vanessa's wedding. It wasn't personal. Not personal? I was in labor, and this woman treated me like a problem to be hidden away. Tom completely lost it. He told Margaret she was dead to him, that she'd never see Lily or us again. Vanessa tried to chime in, her tone dripping with sarcasm. If she was that close to giving birth, maybe she should have just stayed home. She knew how important this day was to me. Tom didn't hold back. Important to you? He shot back. She came to support you, even though she was 9 months pregnant. And how did you repay her? By letting your mom lock her in a bathroom while she was in labor. Do you even hear yourself? Vanessa rolled her eyes. It wasn't that serious. Not that serious? Tom growled. I could have lost my wife and daughter because of you two. You're just as selfish as Mom, and I'm done with both of you. Since then, Margaret has been texting nonstop, playing the victim. She keeps saying she made a mistake and did what she thought was best at the time. She wants us to move on as a family. Vanessa hasn't apologized at all. Instead, She's been posting passive-aggressive stuff online like, some people just can't handle letting others have their moment. Tom was furious. He was pushing to press charges against Margaret for endangering my life and Lily's. And honestly, I'm starting to think he's right. I mean, who locks a pregnant woman in labor in a bathroom and thinks that's okay? Vanessa talked to Tom. She was backing Margaret up. She told Tom that I was being overly dramatic and accused me of attention-seeking by even showing up to the wedding while pregnant. She actually said, if she was that close to giving birth, why didn't she just stay home? Like my pregnancy and labor were some kind of personal attack on her. Tom said he couldn't even believe what he was hearing. He told Vanessa that I only came to the wedding because I wanted to support her, and that she should be ashamed of herself for acting like I did something wrong. Vanessa just rolled her eyes and said, this was supposed to be my day. She ruined it. And now you're taking her side? Taking my side? I'm his wife. I was in labor. How is there even a debate here? Margaret then started crying. Actual tears. Like she was the victim. She kept saying things like, I didn't know what else to do, and I never meant to hurt anyone. Tom told her point blank that her excuses didn't matter. What she did was dangerous, selfish, and unforgivable. He said she'd lost our trust forever, and that she would never be a part of Lily's life. Tom didn't just stop there. After he left the wedding, he went straight to the police station to file a report. He didn't even tell me about this until later, because he didn't want to stress me out while I was recovering. When I found out, I felt this weird mix of emotions. Gratitude that he had my back, but also anger that it had to come to this in the first place. The police took his statement, but since no one was seriously injured, it's not a straightforward case. Still, the fact that Margaret locked me in a bathroom during labor is enough for us to consider pursuing legal action. Tom says he doesn't care how long it takes or how messy it gets. He's not letting this slide. Tom and I have been trying to focus on Lily, but it's hard to fully move on when Margaret and Vanessa keep pushing. Margaret even showed up at our house last week, unannounced, banging on the door and demanding to see Lily. Tom didn't even open the door. He just told her through the security camera to leave or he'd call the police. She started yelling about how we were tearing the family apart and how Lily deserves to know her grandmother. Tom was furious. After she left, he called our lawyer to start the process of getting a restraining order. It feels extreme, but at this point, I don't trust her to be around Lily. If she can justify locking me in a bathroom during labor, who knows what else she's capable of? I'm still processing everything. Part of me feels like I'm in some surreal nightmare, and the other part of me is just tired. I'm tired of the drama, the entitlement, the complete lack of accountability from Margaret and Vanessa. I want to focus on Lily and our little family without constantly looking over my shoulder. At the same time, I know this isn't over. Margaret and Vanessa don't seem like the kind of people who will just back off quietly. They'll keep pushing, guilt-tripping, and twisting the narrative to make themselves look like the victims. I guess the question now is, how far do we go to protect ourselves? Do we press charges? Do we cut them off completely? I'm leaning toward no contact, but I don't want to be the one blamed for breaking up the family. Not that it feels like much of a family anymore. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. If you've got advice or if you've dealt with something similar, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're still interested, stick around for the update. Update 1 point. Hey Reddit, back again. I wish I could say things were cooling down, but nope. Margaret and Vanessa have somehow managed to take this whole mess to the next level. I've been trying to focus on Lily and enjoy these precious newborn moments, but these two refuse to let us have a moment of peace. Let me walk you through the latest. After Margaret's midnight visit, we thought maybe, just maybe, she'd get the hint and leave us alone. Clearly, I was wrong. A few days later, we got a package in the mail from her. At first, I thought it was some kind of apology gift, like flowers or a baby blanket. Nope. It was a photo album, but not a sweet, sentimental one. This thing was full of pictures from Vanessa's wedding, with sticky notes slapped onto the pages that read things like, "What a beautiful day," and "It's a shame some people couldn't appreciate it." I don't know if I was more confused or angry. Who even does that? It felt like Margaret was taunting us, trying to rub in the fact that she still sees the wedding as more important than the fact that I was locked in a bathroom during labor. Tom wanted to throw the album straight in the trash, but I told him to keep it as evidence, just in case we need it later. And then came the text messages. Margaret started spamming Tom with these over-the-top guilt trips, saying things like, "I gave you life and this is how you repay me," or "You'll regret alienating your mother when I'm gone." She also threw in some weird veiled threats like, "Family is forever. You can't erase me no matter how hard you try." Tom was over it. He didn't even bother responding. Instead, He forwarded everything to our lawyer and added her number to the block list. But Margaret wasn't done. Oh no. She called from a different number a few days later, and when Tom picked up, she started crying, like full-on sobbing. She kept saying she was losing her family, and begged Tom to forgive her. When that didn't work, she flipped the script. The tears stopped, and she started yelling about how I'm the real problem. According to her, I've brainwashed Tom and turned him against his own family. She even accused me of being jealous of Vanessa's wedding. Jealous of a wedding where I went into labor and nearly had my baby locked in a bathroom. Vanessa, of course, has been just as bad. She hasn't reached out to me directly, but she's been all over social media, posting passive-aggressive digs and cryptic quotes about fake people and disloyalty. She even posted a wedding photo with a caption like, "At least I know who really loves me." Tom's friends have been sending us screenshots because apparently everyone in their circle knows what happened and thinks Vanessa is out of her mind. One post in particular sent me over the edge. She wrote, "Some people can't stand to let others have their moment. I guess that says more about them than it does about me." I almost responded, but Tom stopped me. He said engaging with her would just give her the attention she craves, and he's probably right. But it's so hard to stay quiet when she's out there rewriting history like she's the victim. The line was crossed when Margaret tried to rope other family members into her mess. She called Tom's older brother Andrew and spun this sob story about how we're being cruel and cutting her out of our lives for no reason. Andrew called Tom, all concerned, and asked if we were okay. When Tom explained the real story, Andrew was floored. He had no idea how bad things were and said he fully supports us going no contact. But Margaret didn't stop with Andrew. She started calling Tom's aunts, uncles, cousins, basically anyone who would listen, and telling them her twisted version of events. She made it sound like I threw a tantrum at the wedding, stormed out, and then forced Tom to cut ties with his family. Some of them believed her, at least at first. We started getting texts from distant relatives asking, "What's going on with Margaret? She seems so upset." Tom had to send out this massive group text clarifying what actually happened. He kept it short and to the point, saying, "For anyone who's heard Margaret's version of events, here's the truth. She locked my wife in a bathroom while she was in labor to protect Vanessa's wedding. We are no longer in contact with her for the safety of our family." Most people were supportive, but a few still sided with Margaret, saying things like, "She's your mom, though. Can't you work it out?" It's exhausting having to defend ourselves over something that should be so obviously wrong. At this point, Tom and I have decided to go fully no contact with both Margaret and Vanessa. We're also moving forward with a restraining order against Margaret. It feels extreme, but I don't trust her not to escalate. She's already proven she doesn't care about my safety, or Lily's, and I refuse to let her guilt us into giving her access to our daughter. Vanessa is a lost cause. She hasn't apologized, hasn't shown an ounce of remorse, and seems more concerned with playing the victim than owning up to her actions. I'm done trying to understand her or give her the benefit of the doubt. Some people just aren't worth the effort. Writing all this out has been cathartic, but it also makes me realize how insane the whole situation is. I keep thinking, how did we get here? I never imagined I'd be dealing with this kind of drama, especially with family. But I guess some people are so wrapped up in their own egos that they'll hurt anyone to protect their image. Anyway, thanks for reading, Reddit. If you've got advice for navigating no contact or dealing with toxic family, I'd love to hear it. And if you're still interested, I'll write an update. Final update. Dot. Hey, Reddit. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. I honestly didn't think things could escalate more after everything we've been through, but Margaret and Vanessa have this uncanny ability to dig the hole deeper. Still, I think we've finally hit a turning point, or at least, I hope we have. Let me tell you how it all went down. After deciding to go fully no contact, Tom and I started putting some boundaries in place to protect our family. We officially filed for a restraining order against Margaret. Our lawyer was confident we had a solid case, especially with the texts, social media posts, and Tom's statement to the police. I wasn't thrilled about having to go through this legal process. Trust me, it's not fun, but I knew it was necessary. Margaret got served about a week ago. We didn't hear anything directly from her, thanks to the block list, but we knew it happened because she immediately went into damage control mode. Within hours, several of Tom's relatives were calling us, saying Margaret was devastated and claiming we'd gone too far. One of her cousins even said, "She's your mom. Aren't you being a little harsh?" Tom's response was perfect. He said, "If you think it's okay to lock a pregnant woman in labor in a bathroom, feel free to reach out to Margaret. Otherwise, stay out of it." That shut most of them up, though a few still tried to argue that family is everything. Funny how people only say that when they're not the ones being mistreated. The real drama came when Margaret decided to show up at Tom's workplace. Yeah, you read that right. She actually went to his office demanding to see him. Tom works in a pretty professional environment, and Margaret making a scene there is next level mortifying. Security had to escort her out after she started yelling in the lobby about how Tom was brainwashed and that I was tearing the family apart. Tom was furious when he found out. He immediately called our lawyer to report the incident, and we updated the restraining order to include his workplace. It's wild to me that Margaret thought this was an acceptable way to fix things. If anything, it just reinforced why we needed to cut her off in the first place. But as it turns out, Margaret wasn't done yet. Just when we thought she'd finally gotten the message, she managed to outdo herself in the worst way possible. This time filed for grandparent visitation rights. Let me explain what happened. So, a couple of weeks after we got the restraining order finalized and thought we were free of their chaos, Tom got a call from a lawyer. Not our lawyer, their lawyer. He told us that Margaret and Vanessa decided to try and file for grandparent visitation rights. Margaret actually believes she has the legal right to force her way into Lily's life after everything she's done. At first, I thought it was a joke. Like, who does this? But no, it was very real. According to the paperwork, Margaret claimed she had been unfairly denied access to her granddaughter, and that it was causing her emotional distress. She painted herself as this doting grandmother who was cruelly cut out of our lives for no reason. Vanessa even added a statement to the filing, backing up Margaret's claims and saying that I was unstable and manipulating Tom. I couldn't believe the audacity. This is the same woman who locked me in a bathroom while I was in labor, and now she's trying to paint herself as some kind of victim? The sheer entitlement of it all was mind-blowing. Our lawyer, thankfully, wasn't fazed. She told us that grandparents' rights cases are hard to win, especially when the parents are married, both alive, and there's no history of abuse or neglect. Margaret didn't have a leg to stand on. But still, the fact that she even tried was infuriating. It felt like she was treating this whole thing like a game, trying to win at being the most toxic person alive. Tom and I were furious, but we stayed calm and let our lawyer handle it. She filed a response outlining everything Margaret had done, from locking me in the bathroom to harassing us at home and work. We included screenshots of Margaret's texts, Vanessa's social media posts, and even the police report. If Margaret thought this was going to be her big moment to look like the good guy, she was in for a rude awakening. At the hearing, Margaret and Vanessa showed up looking like they were auditioning for a daytime drama. Margaret brought tissues and kept dabbing at her eyes, her voice trembling. "Your Honor," she said, "I've been unfairly denied access to my granddaughter. I only want to be part of her life. Family is sacred." Our lawyer didn't hold back. Sacred? Is that what you call locking a pregnant woman in labor in a bathroom to protect a wedding? Is that how you show love? She asked, her voice sharp. The judge turned to Margaret, his face unreadable. "Did you do that?" Margaret stammered. It was a misunderstanding. I was trying to—" "Enough," the judge said, cutting her off. "There is no justification for endangering a pregnant woman and her unborn child. Request for visitation is denied." When it was our turn, our lawyer didn't hold back. She laid out the facts in brutal detail, emphasizing how Margaret had endangered my life, and Lily's, by locking me in a bathroom while I was in labor. She highlighted the restraining order and the ongoing harassment. By the time she was done, the judge looked like he was ready to throw Margaret out of the courtroom. The judge didn't even need much time to deliberate. He denied Margaret's request on the spot and made it clear that her behavior was unacceptable. He even warned her that any further attempts to harass or contact us would result in serious consequences. I've never seen someone deflate so quickly. Margaret and Vanessa stormed out of the courtroom without a word, and that was that. After the hearing, Tom and I finally felt like we could breathe again. Margaret and Vanessa haven't contacted us since, and I think the humiliation of losing in court might have finally gotten through to them. I can't say for sure that they're out of our lives for good, but for now, we have peace. Looking back, it's hard to believe how far they were willing to go to control our lives. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you have to stand your ground against toxic people, no matter how much they try to twist the narrative. Lily deserves a happy, healthy environment to grow up in, and I'll do whatever it takes to give her that. Thank you, Reddit, for listening to my story and offering advice along the way. Writing this all out has been a weird kind of therapy, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to read and comment. If you're dealing with your own toxic family drama, just know that you're not alone, and you don't have to put up with it. Stay strong, set those boundaries, and protect your peace. Signing off for now, but who knows? If Margaret or Vanessa pulls another stunt, I might be back with an update. Fingers crossed it doesn't come to that.